right, welcome everybody to Standing for Truth. My name is Donny Budinsky, and I am your host and moderator for tonight's much anticipated showdown between Atheist Jr. and Dr. Dino, specifically on whale evolution. The question we will be engaging is, did whales evolve? And so AJ would say yes, Kent would say no. And I'm excited for this one. We're going to be having a good, clean, and professional debate, much like the previous one going back a couple months ago on embryology. I think that was an excellent debate. I really enjoyed it, and it was focused on one topic. Tonight, focusing on one topic as well, whale evolution. And so we've got a comprehensive one for everybody. We've got 15-minute opening statements and then an 8-minute uninterrupted rebuttal. Then we're going to have a free-flowing discussion where Kent and AJ can discuss the topic tonight. Then we'll wrap things up with a short 3-minute concluding statement. And then this is where we get the audience involved. We will be having some audience questions. So please, if you do have a question for Kent or a question for AJ, do your best to tag me. That way I don't miss them. And let me know who the question is for. And with that, we are going to get into our first opening statement, which again is 15 minutes, and it is going to go to Kent. And so, Kent, whenever you're ready, you got 15 minutes. Go ahead.
I'm ready. Thank you for having me, and thank you, AJ, for doing this tonight. June 12th. Is it June 12th? I was sick last week with a snake bite. Anyway, my anti-God atheist friend and humble narrator, anti-God, he's proud of it, is going to, and my tenacious rider on my coattails, his whole channel is anti-Ken Hovind, will attempt to convince the gullible that Bible claim that great whales, God created the whales on the 5th day and land animals on the 6th day, is wrong. He thinks God lied. He'll use professional artwork to claim that a small 3 to 5 foot wolf-like mammal on land evolved into a modern 100-foot, 200-ton whale. He's lying. God is right. Evolution is stupid. That's my stand. Didn't happen. By the way, humble narrator, AJ, you may not know this. I'll send you a copy. My newest book just came out, The World's 3 Most Humble People and How I Trained the Other 2, by the Reverend Dr. Kent Hovind, pastor, evangelist, 4 doctor's degrees, founder of Dinosaur Adventureland, world-renowned speaker on creation and Best Husband Award. We'll send you a copy. Okay. So whales. Did whales evolve? My contention is nothing has evolved, depending what you mean by the word evolution. There's variations within the kind. There's 330 some breeds of dogs, but they're still dogs. There are, 2,000 kinds of tomatoes, and they're still tomatoes. That doesn't prove tomatoes and dogs are related. You guys see the variations within the same kind and want to extrapolate that with your wild imagination. You and SpongeBob, just imagine if we gave it billions of years, the tomato and the whale might be related. But that's imagination. That's not science. Science, what we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. We observe whales making baby whales. End of story. It said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life. And God created the great whales. And every creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly, after their kind. Winged fowl, after his kind. And God saw that it was good. This happened on the 5th day of creation. On day 6, God made the land animals, and then he made man. So God apparently classifies whales in with the sea animals. Modern classification system has decided to put whales with mammals because they have hair, they bear live young, and they breathe, have lungs, etc. The whales don't care how we classify them. None of the animals care how we classify them. The whole Carolus Linnaeus classification system is us putting our classification on them, and they absolutely don't even care. They don't even know we're doing it. When they go to look for a mate, they look for another whale. Every time, no exceptions, okay? God created the great God of the universe, created whales and birds on the 5th day. He clearly told the world that he did it. He did it in the perfect book that he inspired 40 different men to write on 3 different continents over 1,500 years. Only God could write a book through all those different authors and make it no contradictions. Anyway, God and the mighty host of angels were the eyewitness to this amazing creation of all these mighty creatures. He said they would bring forth after their kind. That's all anyone has ever seen. That would be science. Whales produce whales is science. Whales being related to a pineapple is not science. It's imagination. The testimony that God gave that they would bring forth after their kind has never been refuted. He said it a bunch of times in the 1st chapter. Bring forth after their kind, after their kind, after their kind. Again, later in the 6th chapter, of every sort, after their kind. 20 times in the first 7 chapters, God said clearly they're going to bring forth after their kind. Now, science deals with things we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. Comes from the Latin word seer. Definition of science, Latin scientia, meaning knowledge. What do we know? We know whales produce whales. We see that, okay? You can have to imagine everything else. It's not science, okay, to believe that whales evolve from anything or are evolving into anything. Observation, systematic experimentation, okay? Scientists have observed whales producing whales many times. They have never seen in anything but whales producing baby whales, and they're the same kind as mama. Look at that. Looks just like mama. Oh, look at that. Beluga whale is going to look just like mama. North Atlantic right whale. Wow, just like mama. They always produce after their kind. The gray whales, all the different types of whales produce after their kind. If you wish to imagine something else, enjoy yourself. But don't call it science, and don't expect me to be happy about paying for that to be taught to the kids in school. Go start a private school, use your own funding to teach evolution of whales. But it's not part of science, okay? Types of whales. Meet the largest animals on Earth. Did you know all species of whales are grouped into two suborders? Those with teeth and those without, the baleen and the toothed whales, okay? 76 species of toothed whales. All right, and 14 species of baleen whales. Baleen whales evolved from toothed whales, this article says, from, I forget to put the reference. This is propaganda. This isn't science. No whale evolves from anything else. Satan, the liar and enemy of all truth, has fooled his followers, including AJ, my opponent tonight, to believe that whales came from a dot exploding and the fragments cooled to be a hot rock, which got rained on later and made pools of chemicals that came to life as a single-celled creature that evolved into all the forms of life today. They use this fancy artwork with charts showing we started like a protozoa, which came out of the soup from the hot rock getting rained on, and slowly evolved into, there's the fishes, and they got a picture of a whale. How dare they? Look at that. They called it a fish. Wow. Anyway, and slowly evolved to amphibians, fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, farm. If you just memorize the word farm. This is propaganda. This isn't science. This is something they believe. They use artwork and lines on paper to fool the gullible with these silly family trees, to fool the gullible into joining their satanic religion. They shout loudly that this is science. I'm sorry, this is not science. Just memorize the word farm, fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal. That's the order they think it happened in. This is propaganda. Later, they say one of these wolf-like animals on land, Pachycetus, decided to go back to the water and become a whale. They're still animals today. So tonight, AJ, I already said this one. Okay, let me get up here. My book. Oh, yeah. Pachycetus, the first whale, American Museum of Natural History propaganda. Just a couple years ago, 10 years ago. Odd as it may seem, a four-footed land mammal named Pachycetus, living some 50 million years ago, in what we now call Pakistan, that's how it got the name Pachycetus, bears the title of the first whale. Now, you tell me, does that look like the first whale? Anybody? I think that looks more like maybe a dog-like creature, okay? How big was Pachycetus? Well, relatively small, about 1 to 2 meters, so 6 to 7 feet, roughly the size of a wolf or a large dog. When whales walked, PBS, journey in deep time, measuring up to 100 feet long and 200 tons. That's a big whale. There we go. Evolution at berkeley.edu. Okay. Evolution. Wow, Berkeley. The first whales, such as Pachycetus, were typical land animals. They had long skulls and large teeth. From the outside, they don't look much like whales at all. But you got to have imagination. Yeah, call SpongeBob to help you. Okay. However, their skulls, particularly in the inner ear region, surrounded by a bony wall, strongly resemble those of living whales. See, if the whale bone ear bones look like a dog ear bones, that's proof they're related. That's the kind of propaganda they teach. That's enough evidence to convince them. See, the real problem is they don't want there to be a God telling them what to do. This book chaps their hide. Well, get some Vaseline then, okay? Because this book is the one you're going to be judged by. AJ, I'm your best friend. I'm trying to warn you. You're headed for disaster judgment day. It's up to you. Do what you want, okay? Often, seemingly minor features provide critical evidence to link animals that are highly specialized. Look, if there are some similarities in the ear bone of a whale and the ear bone of a dog, that could prove the same designer made them. Maybe dogs have to hear really high pitches, and whales have to hear underwater. Maybe there's a reason there's a thicker bone besides common ancestor. First whales, like Pachycetus, were land animals. They had large teeth, could be used for eating meat or for eating pumpkins. From the outside, they don't look much like whales, but their skulls have this inner ear bone. Wow, that's proof. The idea that maybe each of the animals they dig up was designed just as it is will never enter the evolutionist cult followers' thick skull. They are not allowed to think that way. They love drawing lines on paper, making wild, unscientific claims based on their own lines. They drew these lines. Pakicetus, ambulocetus, look at that. What do they say about this one? Pakicetus, there's the large, powerful tail, short legs, fat paw in jaw for hearing, brackish water habitat. Oh, well, hold it. How do you know they're related? Just because you do lines on paper? That's not evidence. That wouldn't hold up in any honest court of law. Large, powerful tail. Wow. Now these guys live in a saltwater habitat. Oh, they had to adapt. Look at that. Let's see. Satan and his blind cult followers will claim that the wolf-like tail evolved into the powerful fluke of the whale, capable of producing 600 horsepower. Can your dog's tail produce 600 horsepower flapping up and down? I think my wife's pug tail couldn't produce 1/2 hamster power, okay? Could a dog swim at all with just his tail wagging up and down? You realize all the muscles that have to grow to change from a dog-like tail to a whale tail? How fast can whales swim? Well, let's see, up to 34, 35 miles an hour for orcas, 20, 30 miles an hour for fin whales. It takes a lot of power. It takes a lot more energy to swim through water than it does to swim through air, run through air. So let's see. Nasal opening shifted back, and the eyes moved to the side of the head. See, the dog's eyes are on the front, the whale's eyes are on the side. That had to slowly evolve over millions of years. And the whale, the nose of the dog had to slowly, millions of years, move to the back of the head, right here. So the nostrils went from here to all the way back to here. And you think that just happened. Why? Because you drew lines on paper connecting a dog and a whale. That's why. Let's see. Nasal opening shifted back, and eyes moved to the side of the head. Tail flukes, very small hind legs, nasal opening shifted further back. Whoa, okay. There you go. And now can use echolocation for hunting. That's what the fat pads are for by the ear, right? Complete loss of hind legs. Nasal opening reaches position of blowhole in living whale. They're just making these statements like it's communist propaganda. This isn't science. This is a religious belief. They're stating their dogma, and many kids are believing it. It doesn't make it science. Baleen for filtering food. So their teeth and digestive system had to totally be revamped to make baleen to filter the food out from a dog's teeth. Does anybody stop and think about the stuff they're teaching our kids? One of the main lines of evidence evolution promoters use for this fool the children and adults into believing this is the bones in the abdomen. The bones in the abdomen are not attached to the spine like mammal bones are. I mean, like dog bones. Their bones are attached to their spine. Whales are not. They're loose, connected by muscles and tendons. They don't have feet or legs. But with a lot of imagination and manipulation, it can be claimed that to be the remnants of hips, like this Barnes biology textbook. Many organisms retain traces of their evolutionary history. The whale retains pelvic and leg bones as useless vestiges. Really. In Berkeley, California, when I went out there, the National Center for Science Education, they've got all kinds of stuff on the whale evolution. Yep. The whale has a vestigial pelvis and leg bone that serve no purpose. Really. Let's see. Evidence of the whale's evolution from four-legged land-dwelling mammals. You've got to be insane to believe that, okay? Or demon-possessed or something. Modern whales have hind limb bones that have tiny hind limb bones that have no function. Really, no function. Hope Biology, one of the 4 top publishers in America. Just imagine whales walking around. It's true. This is baloney. These are the bones they're talking about right here. I've got one right here. AJ knew I would bring this one. This is an actual bone from the whale down there. This is the bones they're talking about. They're not a pelvis at all. Whale vertebrae are huge. Here is one right here. It is a whale vertebrae, okay? That is not something a dog has, okay? Not quite that big. Those bones that are there are not attached to the backbone. It's not a remnant of a hip at all. It's been that way since the first one was created. Let's see. Useless? No. Whale hips play sexy role. Live Science did an article on that 10 years ago. Those little bones are used for the whale to make babies. Whale hip bones, I got 2 minutes, left over from long ago when these cetaceans walked on land are not useless vestigial structures. They're for sex. Researchers have now found the size of a whale and dolphin hip bones is linked to the size of the animal penis. The larger the penis, the larger the bones needed to attach muscles for penis control, according to the new study in the Journal of Evolution. Everyone assumes that if you gave whales and dolphins a few more million years, the pelvic bones would disappear. I bet the whale hopes they won't. Right? Controlling for body size, the researchers then compared the size of the whale dolphin testes to the size of the specimen's pelvic bones. They found the larger the testes relative to bone body size, the larger the pelvis. Maybe there's a connection for reproduction and not walking on land. Oh, let's see. Research really changes the way we think about whale and pelvic bones in particular. More generally, these structures we call vestigial, Dean said. He pointed to the appendix, protrusions of the intestines as an example. Appendix is not vestigial. There are no vestigial structures. And if there were, that's the opposite of evolution. Pelvic and leg bones have no apparent function. They're still teaching that. Holt biology. Evolution, the whale's pelvis, evidence of its evolution from land-dwelling mammal. This is propaganda. It's one of the lies in my video number 4, lies in the textbooks. Get the whole series for $50. Weakly developed, the whale has no apparent function. A person who writes a biology book should be fired for being so stupid about whale anatomy and wanting to write about it. And you guys that believe we came from a rock and evolved and whales evolved should be not allowed to teach any kids public school ever. You believe you are related to a monkey and a banana. ICR did a great article about the whale's penis and testes compared to the size of these bones that have to control it. They have to mate in the dark underwater with no arms, and they can't talk and say, scoot over, honey. Had nothing whatsoever to do with walking on land. The whale did not evolve from anything. Whales always make baby whales. I rest my case. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kent, for that 15-minute opening statement to the audience. I do see the questions coming in, and I am all caught up on them, so I appreciate it. Okay, AJ, we're now going to hand it over to you for a 15-minute opening statement as well. And so whenever you're ready, please let me know, and the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Donny. And thank you, Kent, for taking the time. 4 PhDs, that's impressive. Please share with us the names of the schools that you got those from and a link to the dissertation that I can read them, because those are supposed to be public record. So what is the evidence for evolution? The theory of biological evolution makes 2 very bold claims about living creatures. First, all living things on Earth are related. They evolved from a common ancestor. Second, the evolution of living things is powered by natural processes, things which can be studied and understood. But is there really any evidence that these 2 claims are true? Yes. There are so many observable facts from so many different fields of study that the only way we can even begin to talk about them is to group them into categories or lines of evidence. To keep things simple, here we'll focus on evolution's first claim that all living things on Earth are related. We can't tackle the entire tree of life at once, so instead we'll focus most of our attention on one fairly small but fascinating branch of the evolutionary tree, cetaceans. This branch includes whales, dolphins, and porpoises. Biologists claim that all these creatures are closely related and that the entire group evolved from an ancient 4-legged land mammal. Instead of taking their word for it, let's look at the facts. We'll start with a few facts from the field of comparative anatomy, the study of differences and similarities between living things. Whales live in water, and from a distance, they sort of look like giant fish. A close inspection of their anatomy, however, tells us a very different story. Whales have placentas and give live birth. They feed milk to their young. They are warm-blooded, which is extremely rare for a fish. And whales do not have gills. Instead, just like us, they breathe air with 2 fully developed lungs. Whales don't seem to have noses like mammals do. Instead, they breathe through blowholes coming out of the tops of their heads. Some whales have 2 blowholes that almost look like nostrils, but dolphins and porpoises only have 1. Surprisingly, if you look at their skulls, you'll find that the blowhole splits into 2 nasal passages inside the head. So could it be that the blowhole is actually a highly modified mammal nose? It looks that way, but we'll need more evidence to be sure. So many whales have hair, just like land mammals. Whales also have arm, wrist, hand, and finger bones inside their front flippers, the same bones that bats, hippos, and humans have in their front appendages. 1 bone, 2 bones, wrist bones, and finger bones. Modern whales do not have back legs, but they do have a pair of strange, tiny bones where the hips and hind legs should be. So they almost look like shriveled hip, thigh, and shin bones. And some whales even have what looks like a deformed ball and socket joint between the hip and thigh bone, just like the ball and socket joint in your own hip. So is this a coincidence, or are these real leg bones? Or are they leftovers from the whale's evolutionary history? So before we draw any conclusions, let's look at a completely separate line of evidence which will confirm our suspicions, which was the topic of our last debate, embryology. Embryology is the study of how creatures develop before being born or hatching from an egg. So if you look at a dolphin and a human embryo side by side, you'll notice that they both have what look like arm buds and leg buds. In humans, the leg buds grow to become legs. In whales, they grow for a while, but then stop, effectively fading away as the rest of the whale continues to grow. And with dolphin embryos, early on, you'll see two nostril grooves at the front of the face, just like you'd expect in a puppy or a human. As the dolphin continues to grow, the nostril grooves migrate to the top of the head and fuse together, becoming the dolphin's blowhole. So far we have multiple facts from two independent lines of evidence, comparative anatomy and embryology, both telling us the same story. The ancestors of whales were once four-legged land creatures. But let's look at the fossil record. So there are many species of extinct basilosaurid whales. These creatures are known from multiple well-preserved skeletons, and they appear to have lived side by side roughly 34 to 40 million years ago. So if you look at the top of a basilosaurid whale's skull, you'll see that the nasal opening, or the opening where its blowhole is on the skull, is not one hole, but is actually two openings. At the back of a basilosaurid's body, there are small yet fully developed hips, legs, ankle, feet, and what we suspect are toe bones. These legs are far too small for walking on land, but may have been useful for mating or scratching away parasites. Evolutionary theory tells us that the further we go back in time, the harder it will be to distinguish whales from regular land mammals. And we also have Myocetus. Scientists have found multiple well-preserved skeletons of Myocetus, and one of which appears to have been a pregnant mother. The hip bones of Myocetus do seem sturdy enough to walk on land, but the animal is still considered to be a whale for many reasons. Their skeletons have all been found among fossils of sea creatures. Their short legs combined with long, flat fingers and toes suggest they were strong swimmers with webbed hands and feet, and their teeth match those of the basilosaurid whales. They also have unique structures of middle ear bones, bulbs behind their jaws, which also match the basilosaurid whales and modern whales. So Myocetus appears to be a walking whale. And the fossils of many ancient whale-like mammals have been found, and people continue to find more. Together, these fossils blur the line between four-legged land mammals and fully aquatic whales, solidifying the idea that whales did evolve from land creatures. And now we'll look at a fourth line of evidence, DNA. DNA molecules contain chemical codes which act like recipes for living things. Without ever looking at bones, embryos, or anatomy, researchers can compare the DNA code of living creatures to find out who is more closely related to who. Whale DNA has been compared to all kinds of other animals, fish, sea lions, but so far the closest genetic match is the hippopotamus. This doesn't mean that whales evolved from hippos, but if this genetic finding is correct, whales and hippos both evolved from a common ancestor, which lived about 54 million years ago. At first, the link between whales and hippos surprised researchers. Whales are mostly carnivores. They eat things like fish and small crustaceans, while hippos are mostly vegetarian. But a closer look reveals that hippos and whales actually share many features, some of which may have come from their common ancestor. Ancient walking whales have specially shaped ankle bones found only in hippos, and the close relatives of hippos, just like whales, often give birth and even nurse their young underwater. They both have multi-chambered stomachs. They are both missing a coat of fur. And here's the fun fact, whales and hippos are some of the only mammals on Earth that have internal testicles. So there you have it. Facts from four independent lines of evidence, and they all tell the exact same story, that whales evolved from four-legged land mammals. But the history of whales isn't the only evolutionary history that we've been able to work out. So we know from fossils, DNA, embryology, and many other lines of evidence that bird wings are modified arms and claws, but that's for another debate. So to sum things up, thousands of observable facts come from completely independent fields of study, and they all come together to tell us the same story about whales and their four-legged ancestors. And that'll complete my opening.
AJ, thank you very much for that opening statement, gentlemen. That concludes the opening statements for tonight's debate. We got plenty of points on the table to engage now in an uninterrupted round of rebuttal. So we got 8 minutes. Kent, we'll throw it right back to you. And again, you got 8 minutes. The floor is yours. And just make sure to, yeah, you're good now, Kent.
Yeah, there we go. You're done in less time than I thought. Let me get to slide number 1949. Okay. Alt DV. Slide number 1949. Okay. The similarities of animals in AJ's mind is evidence of relationship, where I think in any normal person's mind, it would be evidence of a common designer. This is common design. It's certainly not proof, not proof. He might consider it evidence for his theory. I consider it evidence for a common designer. Of course, there are similarities. The same guy designed them all. Now, if you look at the backbone of a dog or the Pachycetus or what it's supposed to be evolving from, the vertebrae, let's see, shut that thing off there. The lumbar spine has these protrusions off to the side, spinous process. Oh, I get one here. Okay. You have these, one coming up on the top, one coming out on each side, and an interesting one in the tail. I'll show you in just a minute that it was designed for. The caudal spine is the tail. Notice the spine bones are very different. The tail bones are very different than the lumbar spine. Has a spinous process on the lumbar spine. There we go. There's an X-ray. There's a cat, same thing. At the hips, it changes to something, to a different kind. It changes from one that has the lumbar spine with the spinous process on it to the caudal vertebrae, which do not, the tail. The structure of a canine tail has caudal vertebrae right past the sacrum. There's a broken tailbone. Does not have the spinous process. If you look at the tail of a whale, past this supposed hip bone that he thinks is hip bone, it's actually part of their reproductive structure to hold all the giant stuff to make baby whales. From that point on, it has another bone sticking out the bottom. A fourth spinous process on the whale tail. Wow. They're called, I forgot to look up the pronunciation. I'll probably get it wrong. Hamal arches, okay? The tail of a whale has spinous process on all three sides as the rest of the backbone does, but a fourth one added to the bottom. Are the whale tailbone hamal arches, what are they for? They're for protection. They're for support. Attachment site, number 3, serves as an attachment site for muscles and ligaments that control the movement of the tail. See, the whale's tail swims up and down with 600 horsepower to propel it through the water pretty fast. Dogs don't do that. Cats don't do that. There is a difference in the spinal bones after what would be the pelvic region. That's because they're designed for a different purpose. Dogs are not designed to swim through the water with their tail. Do dogs have tail bone hamal arches? There is no direct mention of hamal arches in the context of dogs. Hamal arches are a feature typically found in vertebrate of reptiles, not dogs. The heart of the whale is ginormous, 5 feet compared to the dog. So the differences are phenomenal. And everything AJ said tonight is evidence for a similarity, is evidence of a common designer, not a common ancestor. And I have to be the one to bear the news to you like Isaiah and Jeremiah did to the people, even though they didn't want to hear. I'm just delivering the message. You're wrong. God designed these creatures. But they teach this evolution of the whale, and it's pure propaganda. It's not science at all. This is imagination. Large female whales have similar, though distinct bones in that pelvic region. They're different than the male. Our male and female pelvis is different other than the width in the human for allow for babies to be born. No, all the bones are the same. The lumbar, lumbar attachment, the sacral bones, the ilium, just wider is all, so the baby can have more space to come out. But the bones in female whales are different because they have to maneuver their female organs differently to mate underwater in the dark with no arms and they can't talk. It's designed. AJ, it's designed. Give it up, okay? The backbone of quadruped mammals, Ambulocetus, ends at the pelvis, and powerful rear legs then extend from it. Wow. The striped bones are the only ones they actually found. The rest was imagination, okay? Basilosaurus is not an intermediate. It's a serpentine form of a body and a peculiar serrated teeth, cheek teeth. It's plain. These archaeocetes could not possibly have been ancestral to any of the modern whales. Well, there you go. The evolutionary origin of whales remains controversial among zoologists, Compton's Encyclopedia said 30 years ago. Why should we believe that any fossils were capable of doing something that no animal today can do? No animal today can produce babies other than their same kind. None. What you have is nothing but SpongeBob imagination. It's not science. That's all. I've been saying that for a long time. I'm going to keep saying it. And after I die, my videos are going to keep saying it. Evolution is not science. It's a religious cult. You believe these lines on paper represent science. Okay, believe anything you want. But they got on here, let's see, they got birds on here. Birds always have baby birds, no exceptions. And they came from mama birds, no exceptions, none. You can only imagine animals changing to some other kind. I forgot to start my clock, Donny, so give me a countdown here. Okay. The Pakicetus is made from one small piece of skull, a small piece of jaw, and a few teeth. They made up the rest of the animal. You don't know what it looked like. Nobody did. It's an animal that died. And you certainly don't know it had any children. You certainly could not prove it had children that were different than itself. But you guys want to make these stupid family trees and have an amoeba turning into a whale and a human and everything else. It's just simply propaganda. That's all. Let's see. The above information, supposedly just what evolutionary naturalists needed. Tetrapod to whale transition. 99 Scientific American. Has your friend read it? Thyssen said, another recent article, Gura, stated that evolutionary trees constructed by studying biological molecules don't resemble those drawn from morphology. In other words, the way the body looks. Interesting. Morphologists have classified the cetaceans and some other ones together with a sister group, but the view came under fire when molecular evidence entered the arena. So why aren't the DNA charts matching the phylogeny charts? Because it's all simple propaganda, that's all, okay? You can read all these slides when you get your own time. Okay, I've gathered tons of information. AJ, I want to get you converted over before it's too late. You're going to die one day. They got some morons in Texas driving around the streets there. Be careful, okay? You could die tonight. I've driven across Texas. Anyway, such increasing evidence against whale evolution causes me to conclude that Thyssen, Gould, and others are forcing the data through a speculative and imaginative matching process. They're making the data fit their preconceived idea. Evolution, the whale eyes don't have it. Whale eyes are very different. They lack pigments found in blue color receptors of the eye. Why this happened? There's plenty of information, if you care to read it, to show that the whales did not evolve. They never have. They've always had baby whales. I had a snake skin in Pensacola at our museum, albino Burmese python. It has, back at the tail section right there, 2 little claws attached to 2 little bones that go up inside the leg, inside the body. It's not
1 minute left.
It's part of the reproductive system. Has nothing to do with walking on land. You can imagine anything you want, but it's not science, that's all. Anyway, thank you so much. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you, Kent, for that roughly 8-minute rebuttal. AJ, we're going to hand it over to you now, and you have equal time, up to 8 minutes. Go ahead. Oh, and just make sure to unmute.
Okay, so as for the evidence of evolution being actually variation within the same kind, or that we only see whales give birth to baby whales, I would like to see your evidence for what whales have given birth to other than baby whales. That do you think evolution teaches that whales give birth or produce anything other than whales? Please cite a textbook that says this, because every evolution textbook is going to say that whales produce baby whales. And this is a straw man argument that you keep making. But anyway, you're giving the archaic definition of science. If you Google the scientific definition, it says that the definition as knowledge of any kind is the archaic definition. Science has a more modern definition, which is basically the scientific method. That's why in the Bible, it says, beware of rumors and science falsely so called. That's using the definition of knowledge of any kind. It means don't listen to gossip, but that's not the modern definition. Science isn't just what we know. Science is a method of how we know things and how we learn about different phenomena using the scientific method. God said, let the waters bring forth. God didn't say anything. Human authors wrote the Bible. So None of the animals care. Well, this is a debate, and I do care about how animals are classified, and so do you, because you constantly cite animals being a certain kind or a certain species. So it seems like, you know, it's irrelevant if the animals care or not. Whales bring forth after their kind. You know, you'd have to define what a kind is because it's not a scientific term. As for starting a private school to teach evolution, yeah, they do that. It's universities and colleges teach evolution, and people who are you know, wanting to learn about it will willingly go and enroll. So we already have schools that teach evolution. So Pakicetus doesn't look like the first whale. Yeah, of course, Pakicetus is going to look different from modern whales. And textbook, okay, this is an important point. So your 1998 textbook and 1994 children's book say that whale hips have no function. You're using an incorrect definition of a vestigial structure. Vestigial doesn't mean that a structure has no function. It just means that that structure has a different function than its ancestral function. So it can have a changed function, or it can have no function, but it doesn't strictly mean that that structure has no function at all. And it makes sense that a structure would have a reduced or changed function in the offspring or the modern version of an animal. Yeah, so as for whales, whales can't talk and say, "Scoot over, honey." Do you think that whales can't communicate with each other? Because whale songs can travel over 100 miles underwater. So I'm pretty sure whales can talk to each other. Evolution is a religion. No, it's not a religion. Show me any definition of evolution that says it's a religion. Show me any textbook that defines evolution as a religion. Show me any definition of evolution online that says it's a religion. It's not a religion. And you can't define what a religion is in a way that would encompass evolution. So this is another straw man argument that you insist on making. Whales always have baby whales. Yeah, evolution doesn't teach that whales give birth to anything other than whales. And more than 100 fossils of Pakicetus have been found, so you're just wrong on that one. And saying that evidence that we claim is evidence of evolution is actually evidence of a common designer, you should stop co-opting other people's evidence and just claiming it as your own. Why don't you provide your own evidence and say, this is what I'm presenting as evidence of a common designer? Because what you're doing is just I present something as evidence and you say, no, that's not evidence of evolution. That's actually evidence of a designer. But you don't give any reason or explanation as to why it shows evidence of a designer. You just make the claim, but you don't back it up. And yeah, whales and dogs are going to have different skeletal structures. You're comparing modern whales and modern dogs. That's not what we're claiming that they evolved from. They had vastly different evolutionary paths and adaptation to their respective environments. So whales being aquatic mammals, they evolved streamlined bodies optimized for swimming, and their skeletons are adapted for buoyancy and efficient movement in water. They have streamlined they have streamlined their limbs and adapted them into flippers. The interesting thing, though, is that whales seem to have finger bones inside their flippers. So I'm wondering why that is, considering sharks just have cartilage in there instead of what appear to be finger bones. So these structural differences between whales and dogs illustrate how evolutionary pressures have shaped their anatomies. So it makes sense that whales and modern dogs would be different. I don't see why that is evidence against my claim. Yeah, I think that'll do it for my rebuttal.
Okay, thank you, AJ, for that rebuttal. Gentlemen, that concludes openings and rebuttals. And so now we're going to jump into more of a free-flowing discussion on the topic. The topic being, did whales evolve? AJ, you just ended with your rebuttal. And so to be fair, Kent, let's allow you to kick off this discussion with either a question or a couple points you'd like to bring up.
Well, yeah, AJ asked me quite a few questions in there. I'd love to take time to answer each one. My whole program is not dedicated to rebutting him like his is dedicated to rebutting me. But I may do that someday. Just have a whole program. Straighten AJ out. I'll try. Okay. Let's see. You said a lot of things. Variations. Show the family tree that whales produce anything other than whales. Here is the family tree used in textbooks all over the country. This square where two lines come together. One line going to the whale, another line going to the bear and the lion and the horse and the dog and the rhinoceros and the camel. Do you believe that it is accurate that we should be able to draw a line between the bear and the whale and the camel, and this represents science?
Yeah, I do. But you said that whales only make baby whales. That's different than referencing the tree of life.
Okay.
So
no.
What you're saying is saying that evolution argues something other than that, and I don't think it does.
Okay. Well, the animal inside that little square that was able to produce the whale and the bear and the camel, did it produce after its kind, or did it change to three different kinds of animals? That animal represented by that line on paper, wherever it is, this imaginary animal, somehow some of its kids evolved to whales and some of its kids evolved to bears. This is, whatever that animal was, it also would have brought forth after its kind. It would never change to a bear or a whale or a camel. This is where it's imagination. You go back further on your dumb chart here, you've got the whale coming from something that turned into an elephant and an aardvark, and let's see, wow, and humans, they're there, and rabbits. Anybody can see how rabbits and whales are similar. Yeah. If you go back further, oh no, now we got frogs and flowers and birds, everything related. These charts are, so I know going forward, whales always make baby whales. But going backwards, did they come from something that was non-whale way back long ago and far away, AJ?
You're misrepresenting evolution the way you describe it. You said whales only make baby whales.
That's true.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So how is that an argument against evolution?
Okay. The animal represented by any one of these squares I drew on the chart here, did they also make their same kind of babies? Apparently not, because look at all the differences they made. That animal was able to do something. This imaginary animal inside that square was able to do something that no animal in the world today can do. No animal today produces anything other than their kind, but somehow that animal could do it, couldn't it?
No, you're lying and misrepresenting evolution.
There's the chart.
You're misrepresenting my argument.
Why did they draw a line between whale and camel? What was that ancestor, and how did it change to a camel and a whale?
It didn't. Nothing changes to it didn't change to a camel and a whale. Like this chart is extremely compressed. So there are millions of forks on the tree of life. You're looking at a very text, like an image that's small enough to fit on a textbook page, and trying to ask me like which line does this animal represent? Like explain this. Like this is a total misrepresentation of evolution.
Well, let me show you what they say right here. This chart shows a protozoa type creature. There it is, protozoa, slowly changing into everything else. Everything came from a protozoa. I thought protozoa only had baby protozoa. Apparently not, because protozoa slowly turned into fish and humans. There they are. This textbook says all the many forms of life on Earth today are descended from a common ancestor. That's not science. That's a religious belief.
No, it is science. It is science.
It is? Well, then they were able to. Then why was this imaginary animal in the past able to do something that no animal today can do? You are claiming that a single-celled creature could slowly evolve to a human. That's a claim. That's not science. Nobody's ever seen a protozoa produce a non-protozoa. They got humans and butterflies related. Do you believe you're related to a butterfly, AJ?
I think all life on Earth has common ancestry.
Your Honor, I'll take that as a yes. He believes he's related to a butterfly.
Did you start as a single cell kit?
Oh, the development from a single cell to a human is very different than what you're talking about. That's really
How is it different?
You're going way off track, Your Honor. He's distracting the audience with a dumb question here. Of course,
no, it's not.
We developed from a single cell with 46 chromosomes once it got together, zygote, and it developed according to exactly the way God designed it to.
That's a claim. No, that's a claim,
Okay.
and that's stupid.
What's a claim?
That God designed that.
Oh, I believe that's the only logical answer. I think it's only
Yeah, you
logical.
believe it based on faith. You have no evidence for it.
I believe some
That's
human being
religion.
designed this ink pen. I've never seen the guy who did it. I don't care who did it, but I believe somebody made this ink pen. Do you believe it could make itself?
No,
Is it-
but that's
okay.
a total.
Oh,
It's a category error because
No.
we know that we know that humans have designed pens.
Okay.
We
Someday.
don't know that God has designed the universe or a human.
Right. And I admit I have a religious belief. I believe that's the only logical answer. You do not admit that yours is a religion, that these charts
it's
represent
not.
what you believe.
It's
You
not
do
a
not have
religion.
any evidence. You have no evidence that a protozoa could produce anything other than a protozoa. But you want to draw a line on paper connecting the butterfly to the protozoa and the frog and the sunflower. That's
Show
not
me
science.
any definition of evolution that says it's a religion. You can't, because it's just your
I just
claim.
gave you one. Religion is something you believe in by faith, but you have no evidence for. I'll show you the definition of religion.
No,
if you
show
want.
me a definition of evolution that says it's a religion.
I'll get it. But just
That's
watch my
just your
videos. I say
claim.
it all the time.
Yeah, that's you saying it,
That's
but you
AJ,
can't show me
that's
any
because
textbook or official academic source that says evolution is a religion. It's just you
I
creation.
am the AJ. I'm the source. I'm the expert.
No, you're not.
Evolution-
You're
Yeah.
unqualified. Your degrees are fake, Kent.
My degrees are fake. Well, then I should be
Yeah.
easy to beat in a debate. And
You
that's an
are.
ad
That's why I
hominem
beat you in the
attack.
last debate. By the way, did you ever find evidence for Haeckel's trial? Or are you still lying about
I
that?
did. I found evidence for that. I was going to get to that later. Okay. Here we go.
Please show it.
Religion, a set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe. That's what evolution tries to do. You try to give us a reason how the universe got here, a natural explanation, especially when considered as a creative superhuman agency. Your superhuman agency is time and mutations and chance. Over time, billions of years did it. Okay. Involving devotional and ritual observances. I don't know if you got those or not. You worship the sun god, R and Ra. So
No.
religion. Okay. You believe strongly, obviously, that you believe everything came back from a single cell. We never see a single cell creature produce a whale or a camel or anything, but you believe it by faith.
No, it's not by faith. And none of what you just said is described by that definition. Nothing that you described or nothing about evolution is holy or sacred. Evolutionists don't have sacred objects. They don't have churches or priestly figures, despite what you might say is a joke. It's because it's not a religion.
Here's your favorite. Here's your right here. Here is the God that you bow to right here. Your family tree. Look at that. We're related to ladybugs. And you're related to a pine tree and a worm. I asked you once about that. Are you related to something? I forget. So did I get the answer right that you believe you are related to, what did I say? A butterfly. Do you believe you're related to a butterfly? Do you have a common ancestor with a butterfly?
Yeah, I don't believe it. I think that animals have common ancestry. You already know that.
Wait. You think that? Where's the evidence of a butterfly ever producing anything other than a baby butterfly? Do you have any evidence for that, or is this something? This is a religion.
The evidence that animals share common ancestry is in the DNA and the genetics.
Wouldn't that be just as much evidence for a common designer?
How would it be? Explain
I think the
how.
evidence would show that the lines of code for Microsoft PowerPoint and the lines of code for Microsoft Word have thousands and thousands of similarities. That's proof the same guys wrote the code. If there's DNA
they didn't.
similarity.
PowerPoint and Microsoft Word were written by different people.
Well, why do they have so many identical lines of code? If you push this button, this happens. If you push these two buttons together, oh, wow, this happens. Same lines of code. Wow.
Probably because they have shared features, but the same guy didn't write them.
Okay. I think the same God wrote the code for all the different animals. I said, but I admit mine's a religion. You will never admit yours is a religion because you want tax dollars to pay for it. Don't you? You want tax dollars to pay for your religion to be taught, don't you?
No, I don't care about tax dollars. You care a lot more about taxes than I do.
Oh.
Gentlemen,
I just want the truth to be taught in schools.
Okay.
You don't care about the parents that want evolution to be taught to their children.
Well, then they should go start a private school. I want creation taught to my children. We sent them to a private school.
Did your kids go to a public school?
No, they went. Well, they did 1 year. They went to private school. I had to pay for it.
Yeah, so they didn't go to public school. So, and yet you have spent your entire adult life rallying against evolution being taught in the public schools, even though you don't have to pay property taxes and you spent 20 years not paying income tax. But you complain about your tax dollars teaching evolution in public schools. You're a hypocrite.
Counting kindergarten,
Okay.
I went through 15 years of public schools. Okay, I taught all the propaganda that you swallowed, and I didn't. I'm smart enough to see, wow, they're lying to me. But why won't you admit you believe in evolution? You want to claim it's part of science, and it's not. These charts are not science. These are religious beliefs. Do you believe a frog and a sunflower and a butterfly and a shark are related? You do. I got an answer for you. You do. Why? You've got lines on paper. There you go. You believe the common ancestor of all of these was a single-celled creature? Well, then it was able to make babies other than its kind. But no animal today can do that. But the protozoa could do it slowly over billions of years.
AJ, I want to give you an opportunity to answer that. Answer it, and then maybe, because now we're at about the 10-minute mark for the discussion, let's throw it to you and allow you to pick the next topic. I know there were several points brought up in the rebuttal, and that includes some questions specifically on whale evolution that I think would be interesting to watch you guys engage. So AJ, go ahead, respond to that, and then pick a point that you'd like to go back and forth on.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay.
Sure.
Just so I can show this this picture. So if you can see this, this is a dolphin, which is a cetacean, and they have what's called an atavism, where some dolphins have what appear to be protrusions that resemble legs, but they're not fully formed legs because dolphins don't need legs. My question is just, why do we see this in some dolphins?
Okay, very simple. Look at them carefully. They're not legs at all. They're fins they use for steering and flying through the water with. Airplanes have some kind of the fastest airplanes have these little fins all over the place to direct the airflow. This is to direct the water flow around the dolphin's body so it can swim faster. It has nothing to do with being a leg. Why do you call it? Why do you say it looks like a leg? It looks like a torpedo to me. Yeah, that's what it is. So therefore it is. That's crazy. It doesn't look like a leg. It's a fin that's used in the swimming process. Do some study up. You'll find out they use them. Maybe they could live without them. You could live without your right arm too, I bet. But that doesn't prove you don't need it. This is design, part of the creature's design. These little flippers, maybe they're not flippers. Maybe they're just stationary. Some airplanes have wings that are stationary. Some have wings that can move. Birds can fly with theirs moving up and down.
If it's part of their design, why is it only some dolphins have these?
Maybe they all used to have them and they lost them. I don't know, but that would be losing, not gaining. And maybe they were designed for something we haven't studied yet. Science is always having to study things to learn, wow, what's that for? In the last 200 years, we've seen amazing advancements in science because people study why. Why is that there? What does that do? Why does lightning hit the ground? Why does lightning go up from the ground? Wow, let's study that. I love science. Evolution is a pollution of science. It's not part of science. It's a religious belief infiltrating into our science textbooks. It needs to be removed. If you wish to believe it, fine. You want to teach it to your kids, fine. It's not part of science. That's all. That thing on the back of the dolphin is not evidence of it used to have a leg. You got a wild imagination, son. What are you smoking?
So did God design the olfactory system of whales?
Oh, they can smell underwater. They're amazing.
Well, no, they can't. Whales don't have any olfactory organs.
And you know that? You know they can't smell their prey anywhere?
Yeah, so they don't have the structures at all. So
in the dark, whales can find their mate 50 or 100 meters below sea level in total darkness. And did they find them by echolocation is one? Did that echolocation?
They use their whale songs because they can travel over 100 miles. You say whales can't talk to each other, but they can. I'm just wondering why God designed them with no sense of smell. It seems kind of odd. Because sharks can smell blood in the water very, very well.
Bowhead whales can smell, Joe says. I don't know. I never studied whale smell. I think I'll look at that, okay? But if they don't have a sense of smell, maybe they don't need one, or maybe they used to have it and lost it, but that's not evidence of them gaining something. You don't get it.
Evolution isn't only about gaining things. It's just about change and adaptation.
Well, show me where they gained something. Show me where this protozoa that life started from gained legs, arms, eyes, ears, brain. Show me where it gained all of that.
That's a stupid question.
Oh, yeah? You're afraid
You
to
want me
answer
to
it.
show you a single-celled organism gaining a leg?
This chart shows the
That's
single-celled
dumb.
organism gaining all kinds of stuff.
No,
It
it
somehow
doesn't.
changed
Not the
into
way you're
everything.
describing. You're talking about a single-celled organism, and you're saying, show me a single-celled organism sprouting an arm. That's stupid.
Did this single-celled organism on the bottom of this chart develop into a frog up at the top right corner? They're telling the kids it did. So somehow it grew 4 arms, 2 legs and 4 legs. Somehow it grew nostrils. So it grew eyeballs. Where does a protozoa have eyeballs or legs or any of these systems that a frog has? Skeletal system. You're claiming it came from a protozoa. Here's the book that you like to, here you go, right here. They're claiming the protozoa slowly evolved to a biology teacher. I think a biology teacher has a lot of features the protozoa doesn't have. So yes, that somewhere along the line, that protozoa grew legs. Slowly, of course, right? Slowly.
No, that was all wrong. It's not that protozoa. These family trees represent populations of millions of animals. It's not one single protozoa having babies. Like, that's not a thing. They don't have babies. And
so when they took this
it
picture,
doesn't
they got the
evolve
wrong
into
one.
an animal.
The wrong protozoa posed for the picture. It was really cousin George. Okay.
No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're just, waiting for your turn to speak. I'm saying that each animal on this chart, which is not a scientific chart, it looks like it's from a children's book, represents populations of animals. Okay. It's not literal.
There you go. This one's from a college textbook right here. Got 30 college textbooks beside me, college biology books.
You should try reading them.
What?
You should try reading them.
Oh, I'll debate you on biology anytime you want, son.
Okay.
You want to name all the muscles, name all the bones in the body? I think I could beat you on that. You want to name all the? I can name the capital of every country in the world. Pick a country. I'll tell you the capital.
Spain.
S.
Ah, very good.
Canada.
Okay. This is a college textbook saying that the butterfly is related to the human. That's not science.
No, it is science.
For it to be science, but it's not science, AJ. It's a religious belief. That's all it is.
I don't personally care if animals are related to each other, if evolution is true. I just believe what the evidence seems to show. And belief is a subset of knowledge. It doesn't automatically make something a religion just because you believe it.
Okay. So you believe the evidence shows that a butterfly is related to a frog and a sunflower and a shark.
I think the genetics shows that.
So you believe that these animals are related and came from a common ancestor like this college level textbook teaches. You think that the whale has a common ancestor with a bear and a camel because they got a line on paper directly going right to them. And you believe that represents science.
You seem to think that the trees of life are presented as evidence of evolution. They're not presented as evidence. This is a summation of the evidence.
Okay, where is the evidence of an animal turning into a whale that wasn't a whale? I said whales always produce whales, which is correct, and you agreed. But somewhere, whales came from something that was not whale. So great-great-grandpa was able to produce something other than the whale, other than his kind. But the whale from now on can't do it. Going forward, it has to produce after its kind, like the Bible says. But going backwards, it was able to do something different, wasn't it?
No, I'm not gonna use the word kind because it's not a scientific term. It has no definition.
Neither is species, by the way. There are 26 definitions of species.
That's because there are lots of different types of animals on Earth. So you can't apply the same definition of species to macroscopic multicellular animals like a deer and like a fungus. You need different definitions of species. That doesn't mean that the term is incorrect because it has multiple definitions. Nature is complicated and doesn't, it doesn't allow us to chop it up into neat categories. It's going to be complicated. So yeah, just because it has multiple definitions doesn't mean it's wrong.
Well, I think that what we've seen all through history is, whales produce whales. That's science's observation. As far as definition of species, I've covered this many times. There are 26 different definitions. What's a species? Let's see. National Geographic, Webster's Dictionary. Species is a kind. Look at that. They use kind. What's a synonym for species?
It's not using the biblical verb. It's not using the kind as in the biblical term.
Definition. Synonym for species. Kind. Wow. Biological Dictionary. Definition of species. I say a common heritage. I agree. Create offspring that are fertile. I agree. Whales always make baby whales that are able to make more baby whales. Okay, let's
So
see.
kind is the same thing as species?
Well, God said they can bring forth after their kind. So being the same kind has to do with making babies, bringing forth. So yes, it's the same thing as they say about species. Is a dog and a cat a different species? Can they mate and bring forth a baby?
No.
So
But
that they can't bring forth.
there are ring species where you have
Yep,
squirrels
yep.
that can't interbreed, but they're both
In the Grand
squirrels, and
Canyon,
you'd say they're the same kind.
I know about the kaibab squirrel and the abert squirrel on the opposite sides of Grand Canyon, ring species. They're still a squirrel.
But you say, yeah, they're still a squirrel, and you
Right.
say they're the same kind, and yet they can't interbreed. So your definition lacks consistency.
Well, the variations within the kind have become pretty extreme. But you would say that the squirrel is related to a pine tree and a fish, wouldn't you?
It's irrelevant.
That's hurts. The truth hurts, doesn't it? God said they can bring forth after their kind. I'm saying that's all we've ever seen. I admit I believe that by faith. I think the scientific evidence shows that, but I'm not asking that to be taught. You're saying that the squirrel and the
You
bear
made a
and the
video
whale,
called Public School Presentation. You've spoken in public schools.
many
You tell
times.
people go to the bus stop and give my videos out to kids at the bus stop. So you're lying when you say you're not trying to get your material in the public schools.
Oh, I hope every kid in the public school in the world gets my videos. Tell you
So
what,
you just totally contradicted yourself.
I want everybody watching, buy a set of my videos, $50, make 1,000 copies, give them to all the kids over the summer, get the kid brainwashed to believe the truth. And when they go to public school, they'll say, teacher, excuse me, that's not science. Nobody ever sees a butterfly produce a non-butterfly. We need a lot of kids trained to counteract the dumb stuff you're teaching. And
I thought you weren't demanding your theory to be taught in public schools. Didn't you just say
that's
that?
not. We'll give it out to the kids when they're home for the summer. Perfect timing, guys.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? We need kids armed to go off to battle, so they can undo
what's
the
the
propaganda.
difference if it's in the summer or if they're in school at the time? You're still giving your material to public school children. And again, you've spoken in public schools.
Oh, are you responsible for all public school children? I thought parents were responsible.
No, I didn't claim I was. No, I don't.
Are we getting off track a bit, guys?
Yeah, but it's fun.
Well,
fun.
It is fun.
I'm just going down the track of
you guys do your thing.
It is relevant to the overall topic, I think.
I'm going to educate every child I can reach in the world about the creation, and God's the creator, and they bring forth after their kind, after their kind, after their kind. That's, I think, science. You wish to believe otherwise? I don't believe what you want. You hurry up and teach your stuff to everybody you want. I'll hurry up and teach my stuff to everyone. That's fine.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I have an issue with it, but if that's what you want to do, that's okay. I can't stop you, but at least be upfront about it. Don't say that I'm not trying to get my material to public school students when you clearly are. I mean, I don't see why you have the double standard where you act like you're not doing it.
I'm saying in public schools, we should teach real science. It's science that this is a deltoid muscle, the biceps, the triceps, the humerus, the flexors, the extenders. We could teach all the science of the human body, anatomy, and never mention evolution. It has nothing to do with science. You can teach anatomy, you can teach geography, you can teach all kinds of things about the world and real science and history, and never mention evolution. It has nothing to do with science. It's unnecessary. It's a waste of classroom time to tell the kids they're related to a sponge or a banana when we never see a banana produce non-bananas. There's 1,000 varieties of bananas now, and they always make baby bananas. So of some kind, they're still a banana.
So you don't want evolution taught in public schools. What about the parents who do want their children taught evolution in public schools?
Oh, they got the
do you
same
not
problem
care about them?
I suppose I said I want them taught creation. They want them taught evolution. The state steps in and says, excuse me, the state is paying for this school. We're not going to teach any religion. Take evolution out. Just teach the science. That's my point. Evolution is a religion. It should not be included in public schools.
It's not a religion, Kent.
It is nothing but a religion.
You've been lying about this for 30 years, but it's not a religion.
Do you believe you are related to a ladybug, like this chart shows?
That doesn't make evolution a religion.
I said, do you believe, capital B, do you believe you are related to a ladybug?
If I do, that doesn't mean I have a religion. Just because you believe something doesn't automatically make what you believe a religion. That's stupid.
Okay. You believe by faith that protozoa at the bottom of the chart, you believe by faith it was able to somehow turn to a cat and a lion and a palm tree. That's something you believe.
I know when you're lying, Kent, your lips are moving.
Do you believe the whale that we're talking about tonight came from a protozoa, ultimately over billions of trillions, quadrillions of generations?
I think that the first self-replicating molecule was the first life form on Earth, and it was the ancestor to modern whales. Yeah, I'm not going to say protozoa because your language is inaccurate.
Your Honor, notice he said, "I believe." That's a religion.
So what?
He doesn't have science.
Belief is a subset of knowledge, and my beliefs are based on evidence. It's justified true belief, not based on faith.
My beliefs are based on evidence. We've seen whales produce whales. It's all we've ever seen. So I believe they've always produced whales. I think if we could go back in time, we'd find that grandpa, great-grandpa, great-great-grandpa was a whale. I think if we went back a billion generations, we'd find it was a whale. I believe whales always produced whales. You believe a protozoa produced a whale. That's not science. I wish you could see it.
You are using a shifty definition of the word produce, because on one hand, you say whales produce whales like they give birth, but then at the same time, you're saying a protozoa evolution says a protozoa produced a whale, which is a totally different meaning, because that's over millions of years talking about populations of animals. So it's completely like, it makes no sense to use the word produce in that way, but it's intentionally it's dishonest, and it's meant to be, you're obfuscating the meanings of your terms because you don't want to get challenged on the words you use. So you're intentionally vague.
Well, you just inadvertently admitted who your God was. Time.
I thought my God was a tree of life. How many gods do I have?
I don't know. But time is able to turn a protozoa to a whale, isn't it?
No. Evolution has mechanisms like natural selection, sexual selection, genetic drift. It's not just time.
Well, we're off topic here, but natural selection can only select. How did it select a protozoa to turn to a whale? Which protozoa had the whale features and nature selected that one? And how did the rest of them get to keep living? There's still protozoa around.
Natural selection selects mutations, not animals. So certain mutations are selected for that are advantageous.
So there's your other God, mutations. Random mistakes in the DNA code, changes. All that have been observed are negative. But you believe, by faith, there were some good ones back there somewhere long ago and far away, and they slowly gave this protozoa legs and lungs and a blowhole and eyes and baleen. It all came from a protozoa. You believe that by faith, based on mutations, which is mistakes in the code, and then natural selection. Nature selected that one. Oh, that one's going to be a whale. Let's keep that one.
My headphones cut out for a second, but you yourself have given an example of beneficial mutations, because you say that if you put all the dogs in Alaska, the ones that would survive are the ones that have the thicker fur. Well, right. Those dogs got thicker fur because of a mutation. So that's a beneficial mutation. It's a beneficial trait.
Okay, you don't know they got thicker fur because of a mutation. Dogs have fur, period. Some are thicker, some are thinner.
That change is based on mutations.
No, it's not. It's part of the DNA code.
Then how did they? Then what caused it? What caused some dogs to have thicker fur?
They got a whole long string of genes in their DNA code that tells them how to produce a hair, how to make a hair follicle, how to make the follicle have a muscle, the sphincter muscle, that's able to tighten up and stand the hair up to trap a layer of air to keep them warm. The hair is really complex when you look at the sphincter muscles and the different attachments they have in the skin. So they've got a whole line of DNA code to make that hair, each hair. And you look at something like an otter with 1 million hairs per square inch, I believe. It's phenomenal. They can't get wet. I think that was designed. Pretty cool, because they live in the water. So if you wish to believe the otter came from a protozoa, okay, believe what you want. I think the evidence shows it's too complex to have to happen without a designer. The evidence shows this had to have a designer. Each little piece on here.
Hold on, Kent. You're gish galloping. So I want to respond to what you said. Yes, you are. You're going off, and I'm not giving me a turn to respond to what you said.
The evidence shows everything we see alive had a designer. You believe the evidence shows it had a common ancestor.
I want to respond to what you said about, we were talking about mutations. So all dogs have hair and sphincter muscles that, are attached to it. But some dogs have thicker fur than other dogs.
Right.
Why is that? It's because that, like you said, it's based on their genetic code, and that genetic code is replicated when a mother gives birth. When a mother gets pregnant, it's not going to be an exact clone of its parents. And so there's going to be a replication error, and those errors are mutations. So those lead to things like hair color, eye color, thickness of fur. Like, we know this. Like, so that's an example of a beneficial mutation. And mutations are beneficial based on the context anyway. So you can't say that one mutation is always going to be harmful or always going to be beneficial, because different animals live in different environments and have different needs. And so, it's just wrong to say that there's only harmful mutations.
Okay, AJ, would you please show the audience the best example you know of a beneficial mutation? And would you admit it would take billions of beneficial mutations to turn a protozoa to a whale? Give me the best example you know of a beneficial mutation, just one.
Okay, some humans have thicker bones that are harder to break.
Is that taking something that already exists, like a bone? They already had a bone. How would that
already had a bone?
Could it be that everybody had thicker bones in the past and some have lost it? You don't know that a thicker bone was gained. Maybe we all had it thousands of years ago.
Maybe we did, but I'm talking about current humans, and some of them are going to have thicker bones. They have studies they've studies about this, and those bones it's harder for them to break their bones if they have a fall or an accident. That's an adaptation. That's an advantage, and it came from a mutation.
Well, some have thicker skulls too.
And it would be harder to crack your skull if you hit your head on the curb.
So, what if everybody had
beneficial?
Bones, some have lost it. You have not given evidence. You don't know.
That's just a what if. That's whataboutism. You're ignoring my point, because
you don't
I give an example of beneficial mutation.
Okay, you don't know that thicker bones is from a mutation. It could be that everybody had thicker bones in the past, and some have lost something. Is the code to make the thicker bone part of the DNA code, the chromosome?
Yeah, and when the DNA replicated itself, there were errors in the replication where it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect copy, and those errors are mutations. And we can study those, and we know what they cause. And that's one thing that they cause. Another beneficial mutation is the sickle cell trait, not sickle cell anemia, because you like to misrepresent this, but the sickle cell trait. People that have this have a resistance to malaria. So they don't have sickle cell anemia. They have none of the downsides of having the disease. They don't have the disease. They just have the genetic trait, and that gives them a resistance to malaria. So that's beneficial. There's no downside. And that came from a mutation.
I'll do a whole debate on beneficial mutations if you'd like to take me on again.
I'd just like you to acknowledge that I responded to your question and I gave an example.
So you think thicker bones and the sickle cell traits because they can't get malaria. Okay.
I can give you the papers about this if you want to read them.
Sickle cell traits. Okay.
Gentlemen, if I could, as we start to wind things down and move into some audience questions, it's been a great discussion so far. I've been taking some mental notes on some of the points brought up. And I apologize if this was discussed, just to leave no stone unturned on whale evolution. I'd like to see how Kent would engage or address the point, AJ, that you brought up. I believe it was in your rebuttal. And you pointed to the hand, wrist, and finger bones inside the front flipper of a whale and argued that that's a line of evidence that whales have descended from a mammalian tetrapod. Can you reiterate that? And I'd like to see Kent's response.
Well, I could simplify it by just saying that to me, if you look at the bones in a whale's flipper, they seem to resemble finger bones. And to me, that does seem like it would be evidence of having an ancestor that had that didn't have fins, that had those same structures, versus we see sharks that have fins, but they have cartilage in them, and it's not structured in that way. And I'm just wondering, what's the argument that this is more likely a good evidence for a designer rather than evolution?
Okay, I appreciate that, Kent. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, my computer died. Battery's dead. I drove all the way from Tampa yesterday. I'm a little tired, but sorry.
Me too.
I do have pictures about this if you watch my video number 4. I agree. Whales have various bones in their flipper that are same design, same pattern as the bones of the human. They have decided to call them the same thing in the whale: the radius, the ulna, the carpals, the metacarpals, the phalanges, etc. I don't think the whale cares what we call them. But the whale's flipper is very flexible. It can move it. It can catch the water and swim. It can do all kinds of things with its flipper, like we do with our hands. I bet the whale thinks it was designed. I think the evidence would show that all the baby whales have the same kind of bones in their hand. But you believe these whale bones the bones in the whale's hand came from a protozoa which doesn't have any bones at all. How many mutations would it take to make all those bones in a whale's flipper coming from a protozoa? Take billions of years. That's your God, time. Billions of years. That'll do it. So no, I think the whale bone hands, finger bones, and the bones in the whale's flipper are very good evidence that it was designed to swim in the water like it does. Perfectly designed.
AJ, before we respond, let's do this. Since Kent started the discussion, let's give you the last word on the discussion. Then we'll jump into 3-minute closing statements where you guys can wrap up your thoughts and points and address anything you feel may have been left hanging. Then we'll get into some audience questions, have some fun with those. So AJ, final word on the discussion?
Yeah, I would just say that, I think that when we're talking about comparative anatomy, you don't compare the oldest ancestor that you can find. We're talking about animals that would have lived at a similar time frame, or animals that are, concurrent, basically, like, modern dogs, modern whales, humans that have the finger bones and the structure of one bone, two bones, and then lots of little bones, which is, and this could be our next debate, is something that we see. If you want to go back to an ancestor, this is the same thing we see in Tiktaalik, which I'd love to talk about sometime. But I think I'm ready to do the outro or the closing if you are.
Okay, well, gentlemen, thank you. I appreciate it. I think we were comprehensive in our engagement on the relevant points pertaining to whale evolution. So let's jump into some 3-minute concluding statements. Kent, let's throw it over to you and go ahead. You got 3 minutes.
I think all the evidence from all of history will show that animals always produce after their kind. Tomatoes grow baby tomato plants, which turn into tomatoes. Whales make baby whales. Dogs make baby dogs. There are no exceptions. Every farmer on the planet, for all of recorded history, will tell you they bring forth after their kind. God's word said they would bring forth after their kind. I believe that's the only logical conclusion, because that's all we've observed. I love science. I think science teaches us we should observe, study, test, demonstrate. Do a test. Get a bunch of amoeba in the laboratory and make them grow bones and baleen and fingers and flippers and turn into a whale. I know you can't see it because it takes too long. Well, that's why it's something you believe in. It's a religion. You believe it happened over time. You don't see it happening anywhere today. Many creatures, many bacteria especially, have an 8-hour generation time. They're born, grow up, get married, have babies in 8 hours. You get 3 generations a day. One scientist could get over 1,000 generations in 1 year. We could watch it, and all they've ever seen is bacteria still make baby bacteria. Wow. I think the evidence is clear. God designed this world, and I'm thankful that God told some people to write down what he told them to write. It's inspired of God, what those 40 men wrote. It's not their words, it's God's words. It claims to be God's word. Every time I've been reading it for 55 years now, I say, man, this is amazing. How did it make prophecies about 3,000 years later? What's going to happen? Bingo, right on the nose. Wow. Okay, so I believe it's true. I'm staking my life and my eternity on that. AJ is staking his eternity on there was no designer. I think he'll regret that one day. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kent, for that closing statement. AJ, we're going to throw it over to you. And feel free to take at least a minute, because I'm going to run to the restroom real quick before the audience questions. Go ahead.
All right. So if I can sort of, reiterate the topic of the debate, Kent said many times that, we only see whales produce whales. We only see whales produce baby whales. The fact that whales consistently produce offspring doesn't refute evolution. Rather, it's a testament to their successful reproductive strategy. So evolutionary theory doesn't imply that species should stop reproducing. It explains how species adapt to their environments over time through processes like natural selection, genetic variation, reproductive success, other mechanisms like genetic drift that I mentioned earlier. whales' ability to reproduce is actually an example of how evolution operates, as those individuals with traits conducive to successful reproduction are more likely to pass on their genes to future generations. And there was some overlap between this debate and our last one, but Kent, in our last debate, he mentioned that the different embryos that I was talking about have different chromosome numbers. Well, again, this is because of evolution. It's like how humans and our closest living common ancestor, chimpanzees, have different numbers of chromosomes because of the chromosome 2 fusion, and because of the way that animals adapt and evolve is reflected in the genetics. So that's a reason why they would have different numbers of chromosomes. And I don't know, is Donny back yet? So I think that I've provided sufficient evidence that whales did evolve from four-legged land-dwelling creatures. So I'm going to declare victory and say that I won the debate. And I think that if you look at not just modern whales, but if you look at the record, the lineage of fossils, you have Pakicetus and Amblyocetus. You don't just look at one fossil. You have to compare the entire lineage. And yeah, so that'll conclude my my closing.
Okay, Atheist Junior, thank you very much for that concluding statement. Gentlemen, that concludes openings, a rebuttal, a solid discussion, and some concluding statements. Excellent debates. That's a couple of good debates on some specific topics, very focused, embryology and now whale evolution. And so let's get into some audience questions here. We've had a lively live chat with many good questions, on topic questions. So here we go. Let's have some fun. First question comes in from Empress Arisu. $5 super chat. Appreciate the support. Question is for AJ, I believe. Can you provide specific mutations that shows the step-by-step transition from terrestrial mammals to whales, highlighting adaptations at each stage?
Well, short answer is no, because of the amount of steps that would take. But there are highlights along that transition that I can point to, like the nostril grooves moving from the front of the skull of Pakicetus and Amblyocetus to the top of the head of modern whales. That's paleontologists have such a good record of this that they are able to measure it by millimeters of movement per million years. And those two nostril grooves, we see them in the fossil record. We see a migration from the front to the top. And like I mentioned earlier, if you look at the skull of dolphins or whale ancestors, they have two openings, even though the blowhole is only one. To me, that is a good sign that it came from the nostril grooves. But no, to answer your question, no, I can't show you every mutation and every step of the transition. I think that's kind of a ridiculous, question to ask, honestly. But
Thank you, AJ. Kent, floor is yours. Go ahead.
I think he demonstrated clearly that this is a religious belief that it happened. It cannot be demonstrated scientifically. All we've ever seen is animals produce after their kind. He believes, by faith, that they didn't. Something changed slowly, millions of years, millions of generations. He believes that by faith. It's a religion. Thank you, AJ, for demonstrating that.
Thank you, Kent. AJ, did you want a final word?
No, just the nice script, Kent.
All right, here we go. Creationist crybaby. A debate is not complete on creation versus evolution with at least one question from Creationist Crybaby. And the question's for you, Kent. So here we go. He's coming at you. Explain how traces of the land mammal ancestors are still retained in cetacean embryos, which have a distinct neck with a long tail instead of a fluke and with protruding hind limbs.
Well, the question itself has a built-in assumption of all kinds, that several of them, that they do. The fact that there are similarities in the embryos, this has been proven wrong years ago. Ernst Haeckel's crazy idea. The similarities, again, it's a common design. Same designer made them go. I bet Ford and Chevy, I bet trucks and cars go through a similar process of development. They put the frame, lay the frame down first, and then start adding the parts to it. That's a good design that works. I bet it'd be tough to put the windshield in before you build the frame and the doors. So I think it's a logical sequence of necessary design feature. I think God designed each of the embryos and animals to bring forth after their kind, and there are some similarities in the design process. I bet if you went through a Ford assembly line and a Chevy assembly line and a Honda assembly line, you'd find millions of similarities on how they do it. That's the best way to do it. It's not evidence of an ancestor or evolution. Cry, baby. Keep crying.
Thank you, Kent. AJ, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for you to present the evidence of Haeckel's trial. I forgot about that. And you mentioned in our last debate a lot of times, like I think you said here, that the backbone is the first thing that forms in, vertebrates, but it's not. We are a blastopore, and when we're first forming, and the first structure that actually forms is your anus. So it's not the backbone. But yeah, good question. I agree that it's not a debate without Crybaby. So shout out to Crybaby.
Very true. Kent, you get the last word.
Well, it's not a debate without the fascination with anuses coming up. So, all right, next one.
Okay, gentlemen, here we go. Let me see. So that was one. First one was for AJ. That one was for you, Kent. So let's try and get now one for AJ. I think we got a pretty good mix here. Okay, here's one. Maze Page. Where are the millions and millions of years of transitional forms? We seem to have thousands of specimen A and specimen Z, but no B through Y.
Technically, you could say that any example of a fossil is a transitional form. But the reasons that you constantly see certain fossil or certain ancient animals cited as evidence, like Tiktaalik, Archaeopteryx, or Lucy, the Australopithecine, is because they are particularly good examples of a fossil or a specimen that shows lots of transitional traits between different lineages of animals. Like with Lucy, you have apes and modern humans, ancient apes and modern humans. Her pelvis, her toe bone, her toes, her feet, her hips, her brain case, skull, lots of, pretty much her whole skeleton shows transitions between these two examples. And with Tiktaalik, you have, low-fin Sarcopterygian fish, and you have land-dwelling tetrapods. Like Tiktaalik had a shoulder, and like I mentioned earlier, the anatomy of one bone, two bones, and lots of bones in its hand or its fin. And then Archaeopteryx is a fossil that shows lots of examples in its anatomy of transitions between birds and dinosaurs. So that should answer your question. That's why you see these specific specimens.
Thank you, AJ. Kent, floor is yours. Go ahead.
Think all the fossils we find in the world, probably, I would say, I'm going to say take away all, 99.99% of all the fossils in the world happened at one time during Noah's flood. We don't see any animals fossilizing today, certainly not in great numbers like we find the fossil beds. I think fossils show clearly something died catastrophically, it was buried quickly enough to turn to a fossil. Animals today aren't doing that. Millions of animals died in the last couple of years. Colonel Sanders killed a bunch himself. None of them turned to fossils. Fossils, the only thing they show is catastrophe took place, the flood. They died. That's what they show. And you cannot prove those fossils had any children that were different. You couldn't prove they had children at all. You could prove they had parents. I mean, that would be a logical conclusion. But as far as proving they had children, you can't do that. Okay? You can't look at a human being today and say that person has kids and that one doesn't. You don't know that. Okay? So we don't see any transition. There are no transitional forms. There's no transition. Animals don't change to something else. They bring forth after their kind. The fossils are clear evidence of a worldwide flood. They find fossils all over the world. In Antarctica, they find fossils near the South Pole. On top of Mount Everest, they find fossilized clams in the closed position. Wow, like it was buried rapidly, like Noah's flood would have done. So I think fossils are clear evidence of the Bible is true, and there might be more types of fossils. We might find fossils of more types of animals than we have alive today, indicating things went extinct. That's not evolution. That's the opposite. So, yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Kent. Yeah, AJ, go ahead. You can have the last word.
Yeah, so I would like to know how you know whether or not animals that are buried in the ground are fossilizing or not. And you know, were fossils forming before the flood happened? I'd be curious to know that. And I mean, you've been told this before, but those fossils on Mount Everest are not clams; they're brachiopods. It's a different thing.
Was that a question you wanted Kent to answer right now?
It's if he wants, we can. If not, we can move on.
It's up to you.
Kind of rhetorical.
You want to move on, or Kent? Did you want to respond?
It just shows his extreme desperation tonight on these topics. Fossils before the flood, I don't know. There's no way to tell that, but I would doubt it. I don't think things died like they do today. I think they had longer lifespans, and many animals grew a lot bigger. We find evidence of oysters on top of the Peruvian mountains, 11.5-foot oysters. World's record oyster today is 14 inches in a restaurant in Denmark. How do you explain an 11-foot oyster 2 miles above sea level? Well, you put a sign next to it that says 200 million years ago, problem solved. That you rely on time as your God to solve everything. And I covered in my seminar series why you can't have time. There's lots of ways to prove the earth cannot be billions of years old. But I know that frustrates you guys because that's your pacifier. You need time. So anyway, we've got too many topics going, Donny, and I'm tired. My computer's dead, and I'm ready to quit. So go ahead.
Thank you, Kent. AJ, you want to?
No, I want to declare victory too. Go ahead. He declared it. I declare it.
There we go. We both declared victory. So at that point, I guess it's up to the audience who the real victor is. Okay, here we go. Next question then. One for you, Kent. Jackson Rowe, your arch nemesis. And so his question is, protocetid and basilosaurid whales have basically identical skull and teeth structure. Creationists consider the latter whales, but not the former. Why?
I don't know. I don't think the whales and I don't think any of these animals care how we classify them. I bet the basilosaurs, when they went to look for a mate, looked for another basilosaur every time. The fact that there are similar skulls or similar teeth, again, common designer. Same guy designed them. Maybe they have to encounter the same things in life as they go through life. Octopus need more arms than we do. Works out really good. They can grab the clam, hang onto something, anchor themselves, and pry the clam open. I think everything is designed to do what it does.
Thank you, Kent. AJ, any thoughts?
Well, I would just agree with what Jackson said there, and also I think it's interesting that baleen whales in utero develop teeth. The teeth start to form, and then they go away. Kind of similar to how dolphins have limb buds, where they start to develop what would appear to be limbs, but then those completely reabsorb into the body, and most dolphins just have normal fins. To me, that is evidence of the limbs or the structures that the common ancestor had. But I'm just surprised that we've actually gone the whole debate without mentioning whale penises.
You know what? The vestigial.
I showed
Structure.
pictures just for him. I know he's got a fascination with those two. I showed pictures. As far as baleen whales having baby teeth, I didn't know that. I'll check that out. Maybe it's so they can suckle after they're born. Maybe they lose them after that. Maybe they got to grip onto the nipple as mama swims or something. That's a good. It wouldn't be proof of evolution. It might be something that has a design feature.
They're reabsorbed before the animal is born.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I've never studied that. Good. I'll thank you. I'll work on that.
AJ, question from Tolkienomics. Question for AJ. Given that blue and fin whales engage in hybridization without genomic data of prior transitional forms, how can we conclude these forms weren't just hybrids?
Well, I guess I'm curious about how far back he is talking about when he says transitional forms, because we do have genetic data for a lot of, ancestors of whales, but I guess he's probably talking about the ancient fossils, which I guess I would just have to answer that I don't know. I'll look into this question.
Okay, thank you, AJ. Any thoughts on that, Kent?
Well, just he keeps saying things like how far back, as if we can go back in time. You can't go back in time. First of all, there's not billions of years to go back to, and the only evidence you have of going back in time is fossils, and they can just as easily be interpreted as having formed in a big flood in the Noah, and no animals in the fossils indicate they're changing into something else. We could line up the bones the way we want to make it look like there's been a transition, but that's artwork. That's not science.
AJ, quick final word.
No, I got nothing.
Okay, we'll wrap it up with one final question. So, Krishna's crybaby, I hope you feel honored. You get the last question for tonight, and then we'll wrap things up. And it's for you, Kent. Kent, in the 1990s, the relevant fossil record went from non-existent to excellent, confirming molecular biologists' findings that the closest relatives of cetaceans are even-toed ungulates.
First of all, it's not a question. It's a statement, and it's a statement of dogma. He's claiming this is what happened. That's not science. You don't know any of those things you just said, okay? And many other things you say. But you don't know that. There is no fossil record. There are fossils. It's not a record. None of them talk. None of them have a date stamped on them. You can find fossils by the billions. If you want to count diatoms, by the trillions. They don't talk. There's not a fossil record. There's no such thing. There are fossils. That's an indication of a rapid burial in Noah's flood. That's all it is. But the Bible says in 2 Peter chapter 3, in the last days there would be scoffers like you and AJ who would be willingly ignorant of how God designed the world and how the world was destroyed by a flood, and willingly ignorant of the coming judgment of God. Read 2 Peter chapter 3. You guys are ignorant of all three of those things, but there's a judgment coming. I feel sorry for you. I'd like to help.
AJ, thoughts?
Yeah, I sympathize with what Kent is saying here, because, I mean, this is a claim, and, I would advise creationist crybaby to maybe do it in the form of a question in the future, and instead of, because if you're making a claim that said this happened in evolution, as a creationist, what is Kent supposed to say to that? Of course he's just going to say, well, that's not true. I think it's better to say this is what we see in this animal or this structure. What's your explanation? What's your counter explanation from a creationist perspective versus my explanation as an evolutionist? And we're both making claims, but I think that's a better way to frame the question.
All right, gentlemen. Ken, you're on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, what AJ skillfully avoided saying was, we believe the evidence shows. It's a religion. He believes it. Believe it all you want. Not science.
All right, gentlemen. That wraps up the Q&A and the debate itself. So, okay, I appreciate it. Been a lot of fun. The great whale evolution debate. I'm not sure there's all that many debates just on whale evolution out there. So we got one in there for people to enjoy. Guys, let's get some quick final words, final thoughts. AJ, why don't we start with you? Thanks again for doing this. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's really not many debates about whale evolution, at least not with Kent, because I was looking for some to try and watch before this debate as part of my preparation, and the only one I could find was with Godless Engineer. So I'm glad to have another one on the books. But yeah, just happy to be here, and thank you, Donny, for hosting, and Kent for taking the time. But that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, appreciate it, AJ, and that goes for embryology as well, I think.
Yeah, that was a good debate. Probably my favorite one I've done so far. Was the last debate.
Okay, I appreciate it, AJ. Kent, thank you as well for doing this. Did you have any final words, final thoughts?
Yeah, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and at the end, he's going to judge it. I wish you'd all get ready. I think the evidence shows clearly everything is designed to do what it does. There's variations within that design kind, just like Chevy makes a 4-door truck and a 2-door truck, and it's still a truck. I think there's variations of the design, but it's evidence of a design, and there's going to be a judgment one day. I think the flood formed all the fossils. I think the evidence so far has been overwhelming through all history. This book is true. Wow. God made the world in 6 days. It's the only way it works with symbiotic relationships. Do another one on that one day. Anyway, AJ, you are welcome here anytime, and you can use my last name, Hovind, anytime you want.
All right, gentlemen. Very good. Appreciate it. One day we'll have an in-person debate live at Dow. I'll moderate. So, okay, AJ, Kent, we're going to let you guys get out of here. Kent, see you later. AJ, have a good night. And okay, so there we go. Another one in the book, specifically in the world of creation versus evolution. One of my favorite topics, and certainly not Kent and AJ's first time debating. I think in terms of formal debates, that's got to be the 5th or 6th. But you should be able to find all previous debates in the either description box of this video or obviously on the channel or the website. Tolkien Omic says, thank you for another dojo day. Yes. Least I can do for you faithful viewers, you guys are the life and blood of this channel. We want to give you lots of debate dojo content. So for those that are interested for the summer in engaging in debates related to evidence for evolution or just creation versus evolution in general, excuse me, please reach out. Standing for Truth Ministries at gmail.com. And I am currently working at giving everybody a summer to remember of debates. And so June is packed, as people can see. July is nearly booked, and August I'm starting to book for as well. And so I'd love to squeeze in some more evolution debates. And I really enjoy the focused evolution debate. So we pick one topic like we did tonight on whale evolution, for example, and then give the guests a couple weeks or so to prep, and then give everybody a comprehensive debate on the topic. So those interested, feel free to reach out. And so we do have a variety of content for everybody coming up. It's not just creation versus evolution. We want to give everybody a little something to enjoy, whether it's something in the world of eschatology, which is the study of end times theology, or soteriology, the doctrine of salvation, the nature of God. We've got a little bit of everything for you. And so this week, we've got more coming up. We'll be back here on Friday. This will be a show on end time theology. And so we are going to be discussing the pre-wrath rapture and all things end time theology, really. And so for those who want to participate in the live chat with some questions, challenges, objections, feel free to be there, and we will interact with what you guys have to say. That should be fun. Then we've also got on Saturday a debate on Israel between Pastor Scott Clem and Otis Lewis. So that'll be a Saturday night debate. And the rest of June, we got a good variety of topics. So we got this one coming up soon, the great Calvinism debate, Sam Shamoon, Turretin fan. Definitely looking forward to this one. Should be one to remember. Another debate on Calvinism is total depravity true? Rogue Calvinist and Warren McGrew. That's coming up at the end of the month. For those that want to see a showdown on the Big Bang Theory, we've got Grayson from Base Theory and T-Rock. They are going to be engaging this topic the first week of July. And so, as Sophia says, debate. Yes, can't get enough of these debates. So that'll be the first week of July, and I am excited for this one. I don't think we've done a debate on the Big Bang Theory specifically in quite a while. We've got some King James only debates coming up as well, so got to get a little bit of Bible translation debate in there. So this is coming up at the end of June. We've got a debate on the deity of Christ. Anthony Rogers and Andrew Griffin. Does Hebrews teach the deity of Christ? And so they are going to be engaging this topic in July. We've also got Dr. Frank Turek, who will be here soon, actually. This is going to be in June, late June. And so this is going to be live, Why Christianity is True, How to Defend the Christian Faith. We like to do these live to give skeptics and non-skeptics alike the opportunity to participate by sending in some questions, objections. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to having Dr. Turek on. I've had Frank on going back probably about 3 years ago now. So it's been a little while, and I'm excited to ask him some questions, some of the more popular questions related to Christian apologetics. And Sam, he'll be here as well with me. Next week kickstarts our new series. It'll be an ongoing series with Dr. Carl Werner. And so we'll be doing at least 3, starting with human evolution. And so we are going to be having presentations. He is going to be giving presentations followed by some discussion and Q&A with myself and, of course, the audience. First part is going to be focused on human evolution. Part 2 will be human evolution. Those are his last couple books. And so that is what we're going to focus on first. And then we are going to do a show focused on living fossils. So he's done a lot of work on that topic, the topic of living fossils. He has a DVD out, book series. And so, yeah, I'm excited for that one as well. That'll be coming up in July. Right here, we've got one on soteriology. So this one specifically on James 2. A couple of experienced debaters here, Dr. Robertson Jenness and Charles Jennings from the Layman Seminary. And so this will be, I believe this one's late June as well, possibly July. They are all up on the channel in the upcoming live stream section. So please check it out. His servant, I appreciate that. Just looking at the chat, I just got a thumbnail ready for a big show that I am looking forward to. So I want to save it just to announce it here and get it into the studio. Give me 1 second. Anybody just joining us, we are just in the reminders and announcements section of the debate. And so Kent and AJ went at it for about an hour and a half. And if you didn't see the debate, I highly recommend going and checking it out. Trying to save a thumbnail, but doesn't seem to be working. That's fine. I'll do some more announcements in our other debates coming up. This one also, first week of June, actually possibly the second week. So Dr. William Bell and Pastor Tommy McMurtry, they will be engaging the topic of full preterism, the the resurrection of the dead. Both William Bell and Pastor Tommy McMurtry, they've engaged the eschatology on numerous occasions in debates. Both their channels and ministries heavily focus on the topic of eschatology. And so this one especially, I'm excited to see what they're going to bring to the table. It's kind of a hot topic, controversial one, lots of opinions when it comes to end times theology, but also preterism. And so I think this is going to be one of those go-to debates on the topic. I also just booked a full preterism debate with Stacy Turbeville and Phelan McFallon. And so that'll be coming up in June, I believe, the end of June. And so, okay, I think that's pretty much it, guys. That's just the overall snapshot of what we have for you coming up. We also have, we've been doing different topics in terms of our podcasts. And so I have one coming up that'll be focusing on the demonic world. I'm excited for that. In the supernatural, it'll be titled From Psychic to Christian. And Jennifer Niza will be joining me and Sam, and we're going to be having some really interesting discussion on her experiences and mediums and the demonic world and the supernatural. And I'm excited for that. I think that's going to be pretty awesome. I've got the promo for it already, and I will get it up on the channel soon for people to get ready for. Sophia says the doctrinal debates on this channel are so good. I appreciate that. I'm addicted to the doctrinal debates. I think they're important. Just having one on a specific topic really just isn't enough. I mean, these are very comprehensive technical topics. And so take soteriology, for example. There's so many passages associated with that topic that people like to engage and debate. There's a lot of varying opinions and viewpoints on these issues. And so we got to give you plenty of debates to digest and also absorb. And so the last thing I want to promote here is my wife's business here. She's put a lot of work into this. I'm going to be adding this link to our official website, standfortruthministries.com. And I am going to be giving the website a big, much needed update in terms of content. We've done so much over the last several months in 2024. And so I want the website to be updated and just even more comprehensive for everybody. And so if you go to this website and you're into handcrafted, just fully organic body butters, chapsticks, serums, you name it, she makes it all here. It's her own business. She put a lot of work into this. And there's been some excellent reviews that people can check out. You can subscribe to the emails, read the blog. I think there's a lot of great stuff for, here in terms of products for people to enjoy and purchase if you're into that kind of thing. And so, okay, we are going to wrap it up there and call it a day. We'll be back here on Friday and then also Saturday, a couple of shows dedicated to end time theology. And when it comes to this debate, I enjoyed it. I think it was, for the most part, it was quite cordial, civil, and professional. A couple of moments where they were jabbing at each other, but that's to be expected. We're having a little fun with these debates as well, especially when it comes to creation, evolution, and between Kent and AJ, who have a history and they've done so many debates in the past. And I don't think they let us down. I think this was fun. It was a debate to remember. So, okay, with that, guys, we're calling it a night. God bless you. Thanks for the comments, the questions for the Q&A period, the support. You guys are the life and blood of this channel. It's why we're able to do this full time and provide you full-time content and give you interviews, debates, lectures, Q&A sessions, open mics. And so if you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We just hit the 25,000 subscriber mark. And so praise the Lord. We just want to give you edifying material to absorb and enjoy. Okay, Standing for Truth is out. God bless all.